So I finally got the LEDs up, but I like the blue. Problem is, on camera, every single blue looks the same, so I don't know. What do you guys think? I think it's fine. But anyway, here we go. Alrighty, hey guys, welcome back to the channel, or welcome me back to the channel, because I haven't been here in a while. You guys have been more active on the videos and in the comment section than I have been. I'm covered in cat hair. I don't know if you can see this, but I don't know how it's going to turn out in the editing, but I'm covered in pet hair. I recorded a 40-minute video, cut it down to just under 30. But it was garbage. So I decided to throw it all out, because I had a lot to talk about, and I tried to work it into a topic that would benefit you guys. But I'm just going to talk. I'm just going to share, what has happened in my life. And then I'll move on, and then later get into what's actually relevant to you guys. So I know there's been a lot of people that have been wanting more videos on how to make money or the business side, rather than kind of the small nuance here and there, just kind of general business stuff. And I will get back to that soon. But a lot has happened. A lot has happened. A lot has transpired in the last month, almost 2 months, actually. For starters, for those who didn't know, I had a cat named Suko. Also, I look terrible, but I'm not gonna bother. I'm just going to be terrible. I had a cat named Suko, as in he passed away recently in a very tragic and horrible kind of way. He was poisoned by a neighbor. Don't know who, but someone deliberately and intentionally killed him. And really sucked for a lot of ways, because, so for those who didn't know, a roommate, a current roommate of mine, they weren't at the time, was at my apartment. We were recording something, and then when they left, there was a stray cat just around our apartment complex, and they basically convinced me to let the cat in and basically keep the cat. I've never been a cat person, and my goal was not to keep the cat. My goal was to find someone to take care of the cat. I was going to watch the cat until I could find someone else. That was the goal. That was the objective. Well, no one else would take the cat, so we ended up keeping the cat. But there was a part of me that really, really didn't want to accept this cat as my cat until we moved into the new house. And then everything seemed like it was on the up and up. Everything was moving forward. The cat had more room to play. It just seemed like an overall better life. A lot of things were moving in a more positive direction. And it was around that time that I finally accepted, okay, this is my cat. And basically I had been reserving love from the cat, and basically just been tolerating it and taking care of it. Still, again, not feeling like it was my cat, but this was finally my cat. And around that time was when someone basically killed the cat. And it was very tragic. It was very sad. Had to put him down. And that was very, very hard on me. Not just because of the situation, not just because it was losing a pet. It was a lot of things that it just kind of culminated and circled around my head, and a lot of different emotions all at once. So a lot of things I was dealing with. Still dealing with the loneliness, still dealing with a lot of stress and anxiety, some feelings and some just some overall, some things that have been made worse because of friends and family, some things that have been made worse because of people that I live with, my two roommates. Nothing against them. But some things just culminated, and then this was like the last emotional straw. And I just kind of had kind of a breakdown, and just kind of had to take a good while to kind of unwind, and had some talks, long talks with a lot of people, and eventually we. Now, normally I wouldn't. My natural instinct is, if something bad has happened to me, or if someone has wronged me, then basically I just cut that out of my life completely. Okay, not that anymore. But instead of doing that, I decided to go ahead and replace Suko. Even though Suko couldn't be replaced, it's a very different, very unique personality. Go ahead and just replace that void very quickly. And so our parents had tons of cats. They had multiple dogs. And so we decided we were originally going to just borrow a cat and a dog, and then see whichever one worked best in the new home, whichever one, seemed to cope with us the best. And also because one of my roommates has a dog, and we didn't know, and that dog's kind of neurotic, so we didn't know what pet additional creature inside the house would also work well with him. So we're going to try out some stuff. And then come to find out that the dog, who we've named Dubs, used to be named Popcorn, but isn't a terrible name for a dog, because the whole point of naming a dog is not just so you remember the dog's name, it's so the dog knows the dog's name. And multiple syllables, it's very hard for a dog to remember, so it needs to be something that's short, very, very short, and also isn't a word that you would normally say, on a regular basis. So they can hear that sound and identify it as a call to them. So we named him Dubs. I don't even care to explain why he's called Dubs, but one of the reasons was, because we do dubbing in here. We do voiceover and anime and stuff like that in the studio. So that was part of it. But come to find out that parents basically lied. Not really lied, but just withheld a lot of information about the dog. The dog was not as old as they thought he was. He was basically still a puppy. Was going to keep growing. Was incredibly destructive. Had worms, fleas, needed to be fixed. The fixed part, that was obvious. We could tell that one. But that, as well as all the other things, was not potty trained at all, had zero concept of discipline and personal space and all this kind of stuff. Had no bedtime, no curfew, no set time for feeding, none of that. Had to start from scratch with the dog. And within a week, tons of damage had been done to carpets, to pillows, to doors, and including a $400 mixer. My Yamaha mixer had also been destroyed by this dog. And that just also woke up a lot of feeling of betrayal and being let down and disappointed and just being just flagrantly disrespected. That had kind of been some feelings that I had felt over many years of my life, especially involving my family. And this was just kind of another one of the straws. And right now I'm working with that little Behringer interface that I've talked about before, the Euphoria 22 or something like that. That's what I'm using right now. It's fine, but I do need to replace my mixer because this doesn't have the best quality. And I loved having all the additional channels. I loved having EQ and compression right there, just in case if I needed to send something live or do live streaming or anything like that. There was a lot of stuff that I didn't have to worry about. But now with this, I got to kind of go back to basics and do extra work post-processing. I just got mad. I got very sad, angry, depressed, all of the feelings. I had to take a good chunk of time off. Now the cat that we borrowed as in we're keeping, his name is Luke, which is totally fine. Cats they're never going to bother to learn their own name, so who cares about a name? But he's also very, very young, very much a kitten. He's gotten a lot bigger in the short amount of time that we've had him, so he was very, very young, apparently. Also had no concept of feeding and all that kind of stuff. However, he totally took to the kitty litter very quickly. It was totally fine. And he doesn't scratch furniture as much. However, he does like to knock literally everything off of any counter, table, or whatever. He's broken a couple of things. So just keeps piling up. But it's not nearly as much property damage financially as the dog. Now, we are getting better with the dog. We've slowly but surely been able to set boundaries and set some expectation. He is starting to get the idea of going outside. He's starting to get the idea of when to go to bed, that kind of stuff. So it's getting better. It's going to be, we've only had him for like a couple months, so it's not that big a deal. Probably by the end of the year, he will be a completely different dog. We're going to be patient with him. We're obviously going to be patient with him. We're all working. Well, I say all, I mean me and possibly my other roommate, not Steven. Steven has expressed the fact that considering these pets were to replace Zuko, which was my cat, and Steven took no responsibility of, Zuko pretty much at all, that he's not really going to watch or take care of the pets on the grand scale. He is going to feed the dog in the morning, but other than that, that's pretty much it. So it's just a lot of things. There's a lot of things I had to deal with. The cat did kind of scratch up some stuff anytime the cats tried to get in the studio. Zuko, when he got in the studio, he would just sit in the chair that's right on the other side of this wall, and he would just nap and wait for me. The kitten, however, he gets in here and he just yanks shit off the wall, all the foam, base traps, curtains. He'll just destroy anything. And he quickly gets behind the green screen just to start destroying stuff on the wall. So that's different. In this room, he's destructive. Out there, less so. So, but yeah, it's just been a lot of things. And the thing that I was going to talk about in the video was giving advice on how to better help people, because I had learned, and I already knew this, because this, again, was very much a part of my life, there's a lot of people that don't know how to help people, especially give advice. And as someone who does a lot of coaching, as someone who does a lot of videos and answers a lot of emails involving helping people out, there's a lot of things to do, and there's a lot of things to not to do. And there's been a lot of people try to help me or try to give advice or support for various different things that I've been going through. Some more than help. Some people have been more helpful than others, and then some have been helpful in one ways, and then pretty much the opposite in other ways. Especially when it came to the whole being single thing. Some people had pretty, not gonna say terrible advice, but they really weren't listening when I would talk. Some people seem to have the idea that they would go from I'm not trying hard enough to I'm not trying hard enough all the way to, in the next sentence, basically, I need to spend more time alone. You can't have both. I spent 6 to 8 years, it was like 6 years of trying to date, all disasters, 20 different women. And it was what drove me to be depressed and suicidal. And then I stopped that, moved to Austin, focused just on my career. And that was like 6 to 8 years of not even thinking about dating, and then just enjoying being me and working on me and working on my career and who I was. And I got better. And then I tried going back into dating, and then it's all been exactly the same disaster. And a lot of people don't really seem to understand that. Some people think that I don't know. Some people just really don't get why that is so stressful. And a lot of people that had been giving advice were giving advice from their point of view. And from their point of view, they had always been in a relationship, and for the most part, they've always been good. Most of the relationships were pretty good. And it's hard to tell people that are trying to be helpful that they actually don't have perspective, because I've never been in a healthy relationship. Not once. I've never been in a relationship that's lasts very long, like maybe like a couple weeks. And I don't think that many women and no success, I don't think anyone can really truly understand, especially someone who's been in multiple great long-term relationships. Our lives are not comparable. And it's very hard for me to look someone in the eye and go, you're really not helping me. I love you, but you need to stop talking because it's making things worse. So that's more of the stuff that I've been dealing with. Giving advice is really kind of what I've learned I need, and what I've learned that a lot of people benefit from is, number one, listening to people. When someone has a problem, you listen to them. Even if you're sure you know what they're talking about, or you're sure you know the answer, you just listen. Just take the time and listen. Sometimes they just need a vent. Sometimes people just need a vent, and they just need someone to be there to vent to. And then you just wait until they're done, and then you can say whatever it was that you'd thought about. However, don't be just in your head, just spending all of your brain power counting the seconds to say the thing you're already prepared to say. Because that means that you're just not really going to be listening to them. You're not going to be paying attention. And a lot of people come to me and they have problems. A lot of new voice actors, they come to me, they have problems, they have issues, and they need my help. And most people starting in voiceover have the exact same problems. Almost always the exact same problems. Now, I could just assume that I know before they even start talking, I'd be like, here's what you need, here's my PDF, here you go. That's it, that's what you go. But that isn't necessarily the case. And even if I do have the answers based on past experience, even if I do know what their problem is, you should still listen to them. You should still take the time. You should still listen to every word that they have to say. Here's why. Here's a couple of reasons. When you listen to someone from beginning to end till they are done talking, pretty much, don't let them just, run the clock and eat up every possible living second that you have, and then until the point that you're just so much closer to death. But once they run through their entire thought, then you answer. It gives them more confidence that you are answering based on what they said. If you interrupt them and then you give advice, even if it is the exact same advice that you would have given, it doesn't feel like you actually listen, that you're just saying something. So actually waiting till they're finished gives them confidence that you tailored your response to what it is they had to say. Also waiting till the end, it's possible they might throw something new in. Everybody's life is different. Even if you have advice that is generally going to help them, there could be a small segment of what they had to say that does need some nuance, that does need some unique advice, that needs some unique perspective on, that maybe you haven't heard before. It's always possible. You don't want to rule that out. And then when it comes to, giving advice, you also need to know what you're talking about. A lot of people, try to give advice, especially when it comes to people who, also have gone through very similar things. Well, okay, let me rephrase it. It's better when someone has gone through something similar. Sometimes I get advice from people on some of my life issues or some various other problems, and they've never really gone through it. They've never really tackled it. They've never really... some people don't know what depression is. Some people think that they've been depressed, or some people that think that they've been anxious or had anxiety and never actually have. So you need to know that you have. Now, it's not to say that you can't give advice based on things that you haven't actually experienced. For example, I've never been shot with a harpoon, and I've never had to rescue anyone who has been shot with a harpoon. However, I do know that if someone has been hit with a harpoon, they should not remove it. It should stay in. So otherwise, they're going to bleed out. I know that. So you can have knowledge and information without having to actually have gone through it. But generally speaking, you need to know what it is you're talking about. So that's a great example. And some people just give advice that really feels like just Instagram copy and paste, cookie cutter, fortune cookie stuff. That doesn't count. Just repeating life guru stuff that you found online does not count. Even if it has helped you, if you don't actually know why it helped you, or you don't know why it would be helpful to that person, it doesn't count. Ignore it. Stop. Open up from yourself. Give advice as you, not just as a copy and paste form from some other location. And then the last thing is, don't make it about you. When giving advice, don't make it about you. There's been some people who, when I talked about some of my more depressing issues, and this is something that happened a lot with my family. My family still have a problem, but definitely had more of a problem back in the day with anytime you talk about something you're going through, it was a competition that they would try to compete with you. How dare you be sad? I'm sad too. Look how sad I am. I'm more sad than you. And two things can be true at the same time. We can all have issues. It's not to say that we can't. What is that? But yeah, some people are like that. If someone comes to me for advice, I'm not just going to use this as an opportunity to brag about how far I've gone, how rough it was for me when I started, unless it's relevant to them. It can't just be me patting myself on the back. It can't just be me, boasting or bragging. I don't send people, when people come to me for coaching, I don't normally send people unless they ask my resume, my demos, or my IMDb page. I don't send them that. It's irrelevant. If they're asking for advice, we just go right into the advice. I'm not going to make it about me. It's about you. And unless they're asking for my opinion or my experience, then it's open opportunity for me to talk about the things that I had done back in the past. Even though most of my advice is obviously going to be what I've done, it shouldn't just be the entire conversation based on me, if that makes sense. Most of the time, you want to ask questions. And that's another thing when it comes to giving advice, is ask as many questions as possible. This is kind of connected to the first thing. But you need to ask all the questions. Get all the information. Make sure you have the full picture before you start giving out advice. Make sure you have all the details. When it came to the whole loneliness thing, people didn't know that it had been that many years and it had been that severe, and it drove me to serious depression. And they just go, "Oh, everybody's lonely. We're all lonely." All that kind of thing. It's not the same. It's very, very different. Sometimes I do get the idea of, saying we're all going through it. It's not you. I'm with you. I'm there with you. Sometimes that is helpful. Sometimes that is beneficial. Because when it comes to things like anxiety and depression, you think that you're the only person. You think you're the only one. But to, every now and then when someone, says, I've been there, I know what you're going through, that does actually help. But it can't be done in a way that's dismissive. It can't be done in a way that's kind of, batting stuff out of the air. When someone comes to me for advice on the industry and says, it's very hard to get certain kinds of jobs, I don't go, yeah, we're all having trouble with that. And then just, that's it. And that's the end of the conversation. No, I tell them what I've been struggling with and how I've been working to counteract those things, or the things that I've done in response to those particular issues. That might be what I would say, but I wouldn't just, yeah, it's hard for everybody. So what? No, that's not what they need. They do need to know that you do understand from their perspective, and you are kind of like there with them, and you're not in opposition. Like you're getting all the work, and you're just like, I'll stay down there, pull up the ladder, like a lot of people in the industry. But again, you don't want to present it as something that is highly dismissive. And then be available. That's another thing when it comes to giving advice, is being available. Because you never know when someone is going to need advice. There can't be just this brief window of opportunity for someone to come to you for help. Even if it's just someone texting you, or on Facebook, or through email or something like that, you need to make yourself open a little bit more. If you're in a position where you are going to be more than available to help people with their problems, whatever it is. If you do genuinely want to help people, make sure that you are available to help them, and dedicate more than just a few minutes. For a lot of people, they don't know how long getting advice or getting help is going to take, and you don't either. Now, of course, if it's not a good time, let them know, and then let them know when it would be a good time. Don't just dismiss them. Don't just put them off. Give them goals and expectations of when you will be available and how long you will be available. But you need to be available. If you're going to be, I think we should just be available to help each other a lot. Just period. That's always been my philosophy, at least. I don't like, and again, this is another thing that's rooted with my family, I don't like I'm sorry I can't help you, I'm busy. I don't like I'm sorry you're going through something, can we talk about it later, and then never talking about it. Or I would love to help you, but da-da-da-da-da-da, and then just a bunch of excuses. And that's probably why I've opened myself up so much, is because I'm experienced with people who have basically blown me off and basically made things harder and made it very difficult for me to get help and get advice. Now, fortunately, I feel like I'm in a better place, especially when it comes to one of my roommates has been a huge support, very loving, very caring, supporting, and respecting person. And they're advising me to get therapy, which I do think is necessary. Not that I can't, I'm not functional, not that I can't function, but you never know how much better your life can be until you get help. So that's probably what I'll be doing. Now, I will probably be only doing a video every other week for a little while. Mostly just because the holidays are coming up. Normally I would take, a month and a half off, but we'll see. Maybe I'll be able to upload more videos before then. This video wasn't as helpful to you guys as I would have hoped, but maybe there's something you benefit from it. Maybe there's something you've gained. If there is, cool. If you've actually gained something from this video, if you've actually learned something, or you have anything to say, just leave it down in the comment section. That's probably the best way of letting me know that this was helpful. This was supportive in any way. That's what I like to know. But yeah, that's going to be it. So thank you guys for watching. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't give it a thumbs up, totally fine. Subscribe if you're new, bell for notifications, and leave down in the comment section if you want to ask me any questions. Totally fine. Need some help? Totally fine. Also my email, my FunnyGuyTimmy@gmail.com. That's always the best email for getting help, getting advice. On a more personal level, if you don't want to leave it down there. But this was just a opening up, just kind of explaining stuff. I had to get a lot off my chest. This is also a form of therapy, and I do enjoy it. So thank you for listening, even though you're not actually here. Apparently people are going to be making noise outside, so I'm going to go ahead and stop. So that's going to be it. Until next time. Peace.